let's get on into the next story. Everybody, you might know of a certain someone. She's coming up on screen right next to me. She's a porn star. Somebody who I hope one day may or may not. Well, I do hope that she finds Christ, but the chances of her doing that are minimal. But Stormy Daniels just earlier this week gave a disastrous testimony in a Trump trial, according to a CNN legal analyst. CNN legal analyst is out of the Daily Wire. Eli, I think is what his name is, Honig, said adult film actress. I always love when people say that. Adult film actress, smut movie woman Stormy Daniels gave disastrous responses during her appearance on Tuesday at former President Donald Trump's New York City hush money trial. Cody, I know I do have a video for this that should be linked there, and I have a timestamp of when I want it pulled up, so let's get that prepped too. But during a segment on CNN with other legal experts, Honig offered his take on the testimony, which included Stormy Daniels discussing her alleged 2006 hotel tryst with Trump that the former president was denied, while he contended that Stormy was believable when it came to the sex claim. Honig argued the cross-examination could spell trouble for prosecutors. She talked about things like spankings and sexual exploits between her and Donald Trump. But the cross-exam, her responses were disastrous. Do you hate Donald Trump? Yes, of course she does. That's a big deal. But let's talk about a little bit about what Honig has to say actually in this video. I believe it's around did I get the right 4 minutes and 23 seconds is when we should start this? Please and thank you. Let's do that.
Guys,
there might be a little bit of an ad there. We can take that. Don't worry, everybody. We will bring it right back. Here we go.
On his own, object at one point. Physicality. My impression was she was plausible on her explanation of what happened in that hotel room. It's hard for me to believe that a juror heard that and thought this is entirely made up. There may well be some embellishments, with Arthur, I think, pointed out effectively in the last hour, but I think it's quite clear they had sex in 2006 in that hotel room. But the cross-exam, boy, her responses were disastrous. I mean, do you hate Donald Trump? Yes, of course she does. That's a big deal. When the witness hates the person whose liberty is at stake, that's a big damn deal. And she's putting out tweets, fantasizing about him being in jail. That really undermines the credibility. The fact that she owes him $500,000, she, by order of a court, owes Donald Trump $500,000 and said, I will never pay him. I will defy a court order. The defense is going to say she's willing to defy a court order. Why? She's not willing to respect an order of a judge. Why is she going to respect this oath she took? So I thought it went quite poorly on cross-exam. At the end of direct, I thought, okay, they got what they needed, but I think the cross is making real inroads.
Can I ask?
All right, let's pause that there. Thank you, producer Cody. So, and this is the case that's brought by Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, in which Trump faces 34 felony counts of falsifying business records to allegedly cover up payments, including to Daniels, in a bid to conceal damaging information as a part of catch and kill scheme to influence the 2016 election. And he's pleaded not guilty. And here's exactly what that guy said that's very true, is they might believe that Trump had these sexual exploits, but that's not what he's on trial for. And so while the mainstream media will talk about spanking and all this other stuff, and we're going to get to some more about what the mainstream media has to say, it's not about that. You have a witness here that's supposed to be testifying regarding the hush money, and instead she is talking about, or she's more than willing to discuss how much she hates Trump and make jokes on the stand. This is supposed to be the star witness for Alvin Bragg. And yet this is how she's performing. What video do we have on screen? We have Trump coming out of that trial. Yes, let's watch this. So Trump is under gag order. He's been talking very minimally. He'll talk about the gag order in this, but this is how Trump had to respond to his day today, which is the second day of Stormy in court. Let's take a look at this.
Thank you very much. Everybody saw what happened today. I don't think we have to do any explaining. I'm not allowed to anyway, because this judge is corrupt. He's a corrupt judge. This judge, what he did and what his ruling was, is a disgrace. Everybody saw what happened today. He's a corrupt judge and he's totally conflicted. And I got to get back on the campaign trail. I'm not supposed to be here. We are so innocent. There's never been anything like it. Read every single analyst, legal analyst. I'm innocent, and I'm being held in this court with a corrupt judge who's totally conflicted. Take a look at his conflict. It's a disgrace to the city of New York, to the state of New York, and to the country. Thank you very much.
So he doesn't even talk about Stormy at all. Once again, he's under gag order, but that kind of says something in and of itself. When it comes to Trump, he's not allowed to talk about Stormy. Stormy is allowed to talk about him. She's allowed to tweet about him. She's allowed to say whatever the heck she wants to the world. Why is it that Trump isn't allowed to talk? The reason why Trump is not allowed to talk, the reason why he is under this gag order is because this is political persecution. What they noticed, the left, is that Donald Trump, when he's able to speak his mind, especially back in 2016, and he's not being held down by COVID, he's not being held down by the George Floyd riots or anything. He's not being held down by anything else, and he's able to, when he's able to run on his own, and he's allowed to speak to the people, speak to the people directly. It's that Freedom 2.0. It's amazing. I just keep drinking so much of it. But when he's able to speak to the people on his own, untethered, unhinged, not currently dealing with the stressors of being the president of the United States, that is when he is at his absolute best. That's when he controls the media narrative surrounding him, and that's when he wins. They don't want to allow him to do that this time around. So not only do they indict him unjustly, constantly, in every possible manner, no, they also will, through a weaponized justice system, they will make it so that he is not allowed to talk, period, at all, whatsoever. And if he does, then he will face legal consequence. This is attack. Everybody will say it's an attack on our Constitution. It absolutely is in terms of the First Amendment. But the First Amendment has been under attack for a very, very long time. That's not anything new. What this is an attack on is the last branch of our federal government, our justice system, that we should be able to trust. And we absolutely can't. Not anymore. People often like to talk about whether or not Rome is falling. Rome is absolutely falling. The United States is falling. And it's not saying something that's falling can be caught. It can be brought back up. It's not forever lost. But we got a lot of work to do to get there. And another institution in America that's absolutely falling, and it's proven by the Stormy Daniels trial, is our American media. And of course, we've known that for a long time too. The saving grace that we really have is the ability for us all to be able to communicate via social media. And while that's incredibly destructive in its own right, we are able to still communicate. And that's where I was able to find this clip of the mainstream media being absolutely idiotic in terms of the Stormy trial. Take a look and a listen to what MSDNC had to say regarding the absolute disastrous testimony that we see here.
Viewers all the time, Chris and Andrea. I sat through 2 E. Jean Carroll trials and 2 cross-examinations of E. Jean Carroll, and I have to tell you, I agree with Sue wholeheartedly. This was very much what I'd call a nuts and sluts defense. There was a portion of the cross-examination where Susan Neckles was focused on the fact that Stormy Daniels now claims that she is a medium and that she communicates with dead people and has participated in a TV series about the paranormal, where she explores things, including the fact that at one point an ex-boyfriend of hers was inhabited by spirits. She was mocking Stormy Daniels. She wants the jury to think Stormy Daniels is a liar and she is crazy. And she also wants the jurors to judge her for her occupation. And Stormy Daniels gave no ground on that. As Sue just said, she might be an exotic dancer, an adult film actor, but she was very clear when Susan Neckles used the phrase selling yourself to describe what Stormy Daniels was doing on a tour where she was making appearances at clubs. Stormy Daniels set her straight. I was not selling myself. I was dancing. The implication always was, I am not a sex worker, and I don't have a sign around my neck that says consent given freely to everyone at any time.
Right.
She was a woman who seemed pretty self-possessed, in control of her own body, and wanting to maintain, essentially, to quote Pretty Woman, I say who, I say when, and not, Donald Trump was mine, that I was for the taking by this man. I increasingly see what Trump did to Stormy Daniels, and she used the phrase, what happened to me, more insidiously than I think I ever have. It is a reinforcement of the predator frame that the Access Hollywood tape introduced. It brought into full vision a very new Donald Trump, not just a Donald Trump who was womanizing and liked beautiful women and was one of the world's most eligible bachelors, as David Pecker described him, but a Trump who knew what he was doing and wasn't just hitting on people, but making it impossible for them to escape, or at least downright uncomfortable. And Stormy Daniels today, I agree with Sue, the temperature was down, but the self-possession was up, and she would not give ground. My favorite answer that she gave was when Susan Neckles basically said to her, "You make things up like this all the time. You've acted in over 200 pornographic movies, and those are all made up." And she said, "If I was going to make this up, I would have made it a much better story." And I don't know how people in the courtroom reacted, but in the overflow room, there was like a, ooh, like almost like sick burn, because Stormy Daniels was in control.
Oh my God. So MSDNC, let's put that like that picture right there in the corner too, if we can, while I talk about this. MSDNC is out here talking, and they're like fawning over Stormy Daniels. And if you were to watch just that clip, here's the important thing to notice. If you were to watch just that clip, you would believe in your head that, and you didn't know anything else. You just knew like kind of the general gist. You were like, oh, I know Stormy Daniels. I know that she might have done something with Trump, like blah, blah, blah. You would have thought that this trial had something to do with Trump and Stormy's sexual relationship. It has nothing to do with Trump and Stormy's sexual relationship. It had every potential sexual relationship. It's not even confirmed. It had everything to do with money. But if you listen to quotes and things that this deranged MSNBC analyst said, she calls it the nuts and sluts defense. She claims that Stormy, that she's a medium who communicates with dead people and even had a possessed ex-boyfriend. And then she goes on this tirade about sex work and your hashtag girl boss crap. Like Stormy might be an exotic dancer, but it was very clear that as if like, oh, well, she might be these things that people have a genuine or a general negative feeling towards, but she's still so clear and she's so smart. She gave no ground. She was a hashtag girl boss. She was a woman who felt pretty self-possessed, in control of her own body. My favorite answer she gave, that's another thing, this MSDNC, MSNBC, whatever the hell you want to call it. She says, my favorite answer that she gave, your job as an analyst is to analyze. And an analysis is not to give a biased opinion. An analysis would be, I believe her best answer was blank, not my favorite answer she gave. This just shows you the absolute bias that these people have, and that it is not about what the actual trial is about. This is not about talking and saying, hey, let's see how well did, like CNN, I will give them credit in this instance. The clip I played earlier, they had an analyst on that was like, here was the good parts, here was the bad parts, and this is kind of how I see it going, based on the good parts and the bad parts. This woman comes on and she just basically, like, pun absolutely intended, pornographically sucks off Stormy Daniels for like the whole 2.5 minutes, however long that clip was. It's absolutely absurd, but that is the state of our mainstream media. And what they're trying to do, it's predatory. What they're trying to do is control your brain. They don't want at all. They don't want you to actually know what Trump is on trial for, because what he's on trial for is relatively boring. It's about, oh, maybe he lied, maybe he didn't. It's about money. It's about blah, blah, blah. No. But they want you to believe that it's in some way about his sexcapades, because that draws your eye, it draws your mind, and it brainwashes you. And that's what the mainstream media wants. They don't want you educated. They want you thinking what they want you thinking. And that's exactly what MSDNC did right here. And that's what they're doing with this Stormy Daniels case. And it's absolutely fascinating to me. We're going to go on to some other stories here soon, but let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. Am I totally wrong about the Stormy Daniels case? Is it actually much more about sex than I thought? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Blow those up. Let me know. I'm really curious what you guys think, because it's just absolutely absurd. It's just another instance of how the world is crumbling before our very eyes. It's absolutely crumbling.